isn't Spiky Mikey! I hate Big Joey! I hate Big Joey! I hate Big Joey! I hate Big Joey! I fucking...
Should TF2 become more like TF2 competitive? It's a question that's caused quite a bit of controversy here in the community lately, and I can't say I don't feel quite a little bit responsible. See, a few months back, me and a few other YouTubers were pushing this little platform you may have heard of called FACEIT. Now, FACEIT came to TF2 making some very bold promises, such as no bots, no cheaters, no random crits, and overall just a general better casual experience. However, what FACEIT essentially never saw coming was just how immensely different the meaning of the word casual is to Team Fortress 2 compared to most any other shooter game. See, in most shooter games, the average casual game doesn't look much different from what you'd see in its competitive scene. Take for instance Rogue Company. In Rogue Company, you have regular demolition and you have ranked demolition. In casual demolition, you have 4 players on each team, a class limit of 1 person per character, and a specific set of maps to pull from. Then, once you've played enough casual demolition, you can move up to ranked demolition, where you'll essentially experience the same thing. Neither casual demolition nor ranked demolition have any sort of randomness about them. No random crits, no random bullet spread. Both game modes are just based on pure skill and teamwork. But now let's compare that to Team Fortress 2. So in competitive TF2, you can have 6, 7, or 9 players on each team, depending on what mode you're playing, all with class limits of typically 1 to 2 players being allowed to play each character. This helps balance out the lobbies by ensuring that no class strengths can be abused and no class is left unchallenged. However, when we switch to casual mode, now you have no class limits and up to 12 players on each team. This can lead to some incredibly unbalanced matches, such as this, or especially this. And to make matters even worse, then you throw in the fact that casual includes 2 entire game mechanics that aren't even found in competitive TF2, being random crits and random bullet spread. Add that to the fact that some leagues also add weapon ban restrictions, and what we're left with is the realization that casual TF2 and competitive TF2 feel almost like 2 entirely different games. But to make matters worse, another thing that FACEIT could have likely never seen coming was the absolute insane range of player types that TF2 has. In one of Array7's newest videos, I thought he did a really good job of capturing just how expansive this range could be. See, from 0 to 5 listed here, you have essentially the normal kind of community that you would expect to find out of any shooter game. Everyone who plays to win, and those that are really good at the game try to go and take it a step further by entering competitive. However, in TF2, you have a very unique opposite crowd of the spectrum that's filled with players not so much worried about winning and more so just looking to goof off and have a chill time. These are typically the kinds of players you'd find blowing hours on maps like 2 Fort or trying to land funny market gardens on Hightower. Basically, for these players, TF2 is just a way to wind down and have some fun. But is this perhaps what's always held TF2 back? After all, if most games that become esports do have casual scenes that pretty much match their competitive scenes, shouldn't that mean that TF2 should strive to do the same? Well, first off, let me just say, I reject the premise that TF2 needs to become anything like a competitive esport to survive, or even thrive. If anything, I think that's been made abundantly clear by now for the fact that TF2 has almost doubled its numbers since Jungle Inferno 3 years ago without any real major updates. The game, whether it be just from a nostalgia factor or just how fun it is in general, has always thrived regardless. That being said though, would it be a good thing if TF2 someday got into an esports scene? Sure.
Maybe.
But that also being said, I think there's a better way to bridge the gap between casual and competitive TF2 that doesn't involve changing the entirety of how TF2 plays. For instance, if you were just to take out random crits right now from TF2, I know there's many of you that adamantly hate them, but at the same time, in just doing something this small, you would upset about half the community. Then what else would we need to do? If you really think about it, would we have to also add class limits to casual as well? Add weapon bans? Honestly, I think making any huge changes to casual TF2 at this point could potentially hurt the community. This game, with all of its goofy randomness and all of its imbalances, is still the game people have come to love for nearly 14 years now. However, I do think there could be a way to, say, bridge the gap more without necessarily having to force the gap on the entire casual spectrum of players. Now, just a little heads up, these ideas I'm about to go into are going to express things that would actually need Valve's input to happen, so I know some of you may already feel like this is going me into a land of make-believe, but if we are going to brainstorm ideas here, allow me to just give mine. So what I think Valve could do to essentially get more players trying to play competitively would be to finally fix what they started years ago, which is this little feature right here. You might have seen it before, I don't know, maybe even played it once or twice and then literally never again, but believe it or not, TF2 does have an in-game competitive mode. However, the absolute problem of it from the very start was that this in-game competitive mode doesn't actually play like how TF2 competitive is played. At launch, it revolved only around 6s and had no class limits or weapon bans. Practically one of the only things that did make this like actual comp was just the fact that random crits were taken out, but that's not nearly enough to replicate actual comp. So in my opinion, what Valve should do, should they ever so choose to actually go back and try and fix this mess, is to do away with whatever this is entirely. Scratch it off. Instead, add 3 categories under this section, those 3 categories being 6s, Highlander, and create a server. Now, what the first 2 categories would serve as is just a way for people to just jump into any random competitive server if they so choose. It would basically be a quick play option for competitive. However, since you can't bring a party of 9 with you, that's what the last category would serve as. A place where someone could start up a competitive server and invite all of their friends, and then from there they could either make the lobby public for anyone to join or private invite only. But these 3 categories would all be set to how actual competitive is played. No random crits, no random bullet spread, class limits of 1 to 2, and preferably RGL weapon ban rules. That way there wouldn't have to be a laundry list of unusable weapons like in UGC. But anyways, the reason I think that this would give us the best of both worlds is because this way, casual TF2 could still stay entirely as it is, but the option for real competitive style gameplay would also exist and be available for those that want it in-game. Putting a realistic, functioning competitive mode inside the game would finally make it so players don't have to constantly travel to third-party websites just to play a comp-style match. And I think this would really encourage new to intermediate players to try competitive more if the option was right there, available and working. But anyways, that's really all about I had to say for this one. Let me know in the comments below whether you think this would make for a good idea or not, and what your opinion is on TF2 becoming more competitive in general. And until next time, this was Big Joey! Later.